My name is Michael Thurman. I'm a senior here at UVU, and I'm studying business administration with an emphasis in international business. The summer I spent in Spain, in the southern part of Spain, working for an engineering firm called Eco Integrado Ingeniería. They want to expand over here to the western United States, specifically Utah. So they had me develop a business plan for them to do that. So essentially, I went over there kind of not really knowing anything about engineering or the engineering field, but having taken all most of my general business classes and a couple of the upper division ones. You know, what constitutes a business plan. And I had to spend the first couple of weeks learning about the engineering field and understanding what was happening and how it worked in Europe, how it worked in the United States. You know, who were the companies in Utah that did that, how are they similar, how are they different. So I had to do a lot of learning, a lot of studying by myself, just kind of at my own pace and however I wanted to do it. And then I had to take all that information and develop, in the end, which was a 30-page business plan for them. If they do decide to expand their operations over here, how they would do it, what would be the cost, what would be the risks, what would be the advantages of doing that, and what would be potential gains from doing that. So it was a really fun experience. I felt really lost a lot of the time at the beginning because, you know, I knew what I was supposed to be doing there, but, you know, kind of taking everything you've learned in the classroom and then applying it, it's a little scary. And saying, oh, well, I've learned how to do this, but I've never actually had to do it except for that one homework assignment I did in that one class. And then when it's actually for a company that makes millions of dollars and they want you to give them advice, it's kind of a little more intense than getting a grade. So it was a little scary at first, but I think by the end I definitely gotten the hang of what I was doing. And one of the great things about it was just being able to make connections, because I got to meet a lot of great people there in Spain and learn about, you know, Europe as a whole. But what I had to do for a lot of my internship was contact people in Utah. So I got to contact people that work for the government here in Utah, people that work for accounting firms, engineering firms, you know, law firms, all these people that I was able to make personal contacts with, have discussions with over the phone, over email. But I was able to help them kind of make connections with this company, but also kind of make a personal relationship with those people here. So now I'm back here in Utah, and I, you know more people than I did before I left. So that was a really cool part of it. Kind of doing that networking that helps me now, you know, people here that work in industries and things that I'm interested in doing. Another thing I want to talk about was just kind of how I found my internship. I don't know how many of you guys have found something or just kind of are considering the idea, but I know I had the dream, the goal to do an international internship, but that was about it. I didn't know exactly how I wanted it to happen or who I was supposed to talk to or what I was supposed to do. And for a while, here at UV didn't really take advantage of, you know, figuring that out or talking to any of the internship coordinators or anything. But I went to a lunch with President Holland and the dean of my school, the business school, Dean Wright. And afterwards, Dean Wright suggested that I come here to the center and talk to Baldomero Lago, who works here. I talked to him, you know, he had some contacts in Spain, and I spoke Spanish, so we kind of started, you know, formulating some ideas, and then I talked to Natalie, and, you know, from there, a ton of people were able to help me figure everything out, you know, and then figure out housing and figure out scholarship. I applied for the Li Ka-shing scholarship, which is available for all of those people. You can apply for it if you're doing an international internship, and it paid for my entire internship, and it was awesome. So I got to go essentially for free and work in a different country. It paid for my flights, my housing, my food, everything. And then I came back. And it was really great. So I actually have a couple pictures just for fun to show you guys. If anybody wants to ask me any questions about me specifically, because I know at the end we're all going to take questions, but feel free.
How long were you out there?
So I was there for 9 weeks. So I left in the middle of June, and I got back 3 weeks before I got married. So that's also something I don't recommend going when you're engaged, because it kind of sucks.
Michael, how about culturally? What do you think the biggest differences were working there versus?
Yeah, so that was really interesting. So I don't know if any of you guys speak Spanish or are doing Spanish classes here. I took the business Spanish and the advanced business Spanish classes before I went. And my teacher, Madi, she's from Spain. And so we talk a lot about the differences, and we read them in a textbook. about how people in Latin culture, it's a generalization, but a lot of times business in Latin culture is a lot more reserved. In the United States, we think of, we're going to risk it, we're going to go big, we're going to, take over other companies, whatever. But there, so I read about that in textbooks, but then I got there, and it was, I would say things to my boss, oh yeah, I had this idea, and they're like, well, let's just kind of put that on the back burner, like, that you're excited, like, let's just calm down. And to me, it would have felt like it was a normal thing here, the stuff I was saying, but to them it was like, whoa, this, he's great, but he's wanting to do all these things, and I don't know, they were really nervous about some of the suggestions I made, so I had to kind of like backtrack a little and say, okay, how do I need to get more information, I need to be able to show them the charts and show them the data so they feel, better about it. So that was, I think, the biggest thing for me, that was. So, I was looking through my pictures today as I made this short slideshow, and I took one picture of me at my place of work. Most of my pictures were either of, like, my fiance or of, like, trees and stuff. So cool pictures I took by just down the street from where I live. I went to the Mediterranean, took the train for 45 minutes, went to the southern coast. That was kind of fun. This is just a view from somebody's house that I visited a couple of times, and then they have a really cool place there in Cordoba. It's called the Mezquita. It's like this building that's been, like, it was built as a cathedral in like 400 or something, and then people of the Muslim religion took it over and turned it into a mosque, and then like the Catholics took it back over, and then the Muslims took it back over, and it's like been built bigger each time, and so like half of it is like a mosque and half of it's a cathedral, and it's ginormous. It can fit like 40,000 people in it. So that's one of the organs in it. These are some other cool things. The Romans took over the city at one point, so there's a lot of cool old castle-looking things and fortifications. There's the one picture I took of me at work. Actually, they took it for me because I needed a picture on the computer system or whatever. But it was really fun. It was really fun to like meet all my coworkers. The place I work, we go out to breakfast every Friday together. That was kind of fun to get to know them. I took on a weekend trip to England where I went to the Beatles Museum in Liverpool. This is at the beginning of my internship and at the week before, so I learned I could grow facial hair. That was the first time I hadn't like shaved in more than 2 weeks, so it's kind of bad. And I think that's the last picture. So yeah, that's a little bit about my internship. So.
Awesome, thanks, Michael.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Savannah. I am a senior. I'm studying political science, world politics, national security. So I interned at the U.S. Embassy in Croatia this summer. It's pretty awesome. I recommend it. It's a really long process to apply and actually get there. So you have to think about, you have to apply a year in advance. So I was turning in my application this time last year to go this summer. So you have to be at least a junior and you have to have at least a semester of school left when you get back. It can be grad school, but you have to have at least a semester. They're all unpaid because they can. So I also got a scholarship which paid for everything, which was super awesome. So you apply through USA Jobs, which is the government's website for all of their job postings. And you pick your top 2 embassies, and then the embassies pick you. So I picked Croatia and Morocco, and I'm pretty sure they talk to each other because, the State Department world is a very small world. If you have any kind of reputation, it had better be a good one, or else you won't get good jobs. So Croatia picked me, and I was supposed to start in the summer, and I did. But you have to get a clearance to go, and that can take anywhere from a few weeks to several months. So I didn't end up leaving until July, and I missed the first week of school. So I was there for 10 weeks. You can go for 8 to 12 weeks. And when I was there, it was amazing. I've always known I wanted to work for the State Department, so it was just like a validation, this is what I'm going to do with my life. So I got to work on refugee issues. We got to go visit places where they're being housed in Croatia. When I was there, so when you work for the State Department, you switch countries every 1 to 5 years. So when I was there, all the political officers were being switched out. So for a little bit there, it was just the chief political officer and then me and the other intern in the office, which was a little intimidating, but it was fun. It was nice to have stuff to do. Croatia is a very vacation-y culture. So a lot of, like the entire government for some weeks would just be on the coast. There would be one person at the foreign ministry when we would go visit. And it was a little weird, just because like Americans don't do that. I stayed in an Airbnb. It was really stressful trying to get everything together because they told me I got my clearance because you can't like buy plane tickets or arrange for housing until you have your clearance. And so I got mine and like, can you get here really quick? So I had a week to find housing in a different country, and a flight which was way more expensive than it needed to be. But the embassy community is really supportive, and they all like, you have this American bubble and everyone just takes care of each other. So when I was there, I got sick and I probably had every single officer at my house a different day. Like, what can I do for you? Can I get you something? And it was just a really nice experience. I mean, you have.
We went for 5 weeks, and then we did 4 weeks of fun traveling after. It wasn't an internship, but internship was awesome. Our first week we were there, we did just culture and language classes, so we could get a handle on the culture, a handle on the language, kind of knew what we were talking about. That was super helpful. I would recommend doing that if you don't know the language, because I bet knowing Spanish was really helpful. This is cool.
It's very colorful. It's third world, very poor. So we went through an organization called RCDP, Nepal, Community Development. We were looking at a lot of different internships. We knew we wanted to do international. We knew we wanted to do something health related. Internships can be really expensive. Staying in another country can be expensive. A lot of organizations that are US based have a lot of fees. So this is a Nepal-based company, and they do internships all around the world.
And our favorite part of it was we could create our own internship. So that's what drew us to that.
So for us, this is like just a quick breakdown of the cost for us. Includes tuition, you have to pay that. But overall organization costs were by far the best that we had seen at all. And the people that we were staying with were getting paid. There's a lot of like volunteerism, kind of corruption and things like that. Here's some of the kids we taught.
So we did our first week learning the language. Second week we went to a school in an orphanage a couple hours down south. And we taught health classes and English classes. It was so fun, they were so cute.
We were teaching them like basic things like wash your hands after you use the bathroom. They don't use toilet paper there. They don't have soap there. So they just go to the bathroom and
Talk to toothbrushes.
yeah. So we were just teaching them really basic health things. This is a huge trash river. It goes all the way down. People live all along it in tents. There's garbage everywhere. It was, culture shock is real when you go somewhere so different. But we stayed in a hostel for a week when we were doing the orientation, the language classes through the organization. And Chiklan's where we stayed for those other kids, and then we went to an orphanage in Kathmandu where we stayed for 3 weeks. So 5 weeks total.
Did you live at the orphanage then?
Yeah. Mhm.
Wow, okay,
Yeah,
so they provided housing for you there?
Mhm.
Okay.
And then we ate all of our meals with them.
Okay, awesome.
14 kids at that one. Thankfully, they had SIM cards that you could buy through your phone. We thought, like, we're off the grid for 5 weeks. We're not going to have connection unless there's Wi-Fi. They had Nepali SIM cards you could get for like $5. Put it in your cell phone. You could order or buy like
Minutes.
minutes and data and stuff. That's the toilet. And
Their
here's
legs were really strong. This is like a nice meal that we had the very last day, but usually they just eat rice and then a lentil soup and then one vegetable mixed in. So broccoli or potatoes or...
And at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. then that's it. There's like a handful of rice puffs in the middle of the day. And 5 weeks, so we spent 5 weeks in Nepal. felt like the perfect amount of time. By the end of it, we really wanted to stay for another month. We could have and been really happy, but the first week was so fun, honeymoon, not vacation, but like we're in another country and we're seeing all these cool things. Second week, it was terrible to survive with. We were given boiling water to drink. There wasn't clean water. Oh, that was too down.
And then we started actually teaching the kids, falling in love with the culture, and then we didn't want to leave by the end of it.
Yeah, got familiar with where to go around and what to ask for and little phrases.
One of our lessons.
Yeah, we did a hand washing lesson with baby powder. I showed how germs spread, and then we washed them, taught them how to use soap. We raised a bunch of money for this orphanage and went on quite a few big shopping trips. Took a bunch of soap back. First time they had soap there. The novelty. Put a bunch of soap on, love the bubbles. Those are all of the kids. It's a beautiful place.
It was left side of the road driving, so I was kind of a nervous wreck. But
On the moped, yeah. And going abroad is so cool because it pushes you so far out of your comfort zone that like you didn't even know you would experience some of the things that you do or see the things. So yeah, really perspective setting. This Nepal was so poor. Had an earthquake in 2015, yeah, that destroyed the already so sad country. So it was really humbling to come back here and just realize all of the things. These people were so happy, the kids were so happy, and had nothing. They were over the moon when we brought them pencils that they could all take to school, or a new ribbon for their hair. It was like the best thing that had happened to them.
it was amazing.
Yup.
We packed way too much.
Way too much. You never know what you're gonna need until you're out there, but you
Pack
know
your clothes,
now.
cut it in half, and then
Yeah. But yeah, that was our internship.
Awesome.
So my name's Wes. I spent about almost 4 weeks in Tanzania this summer. I'm a digital cinema student. I don't really know what year I'm in. I've been here in school for a while. Changed majors. So I'm a senior, but not in the cinema program. So I went with a group called Marafiki Africa, and my job with them was to be their photographer and document all the humanitarian stuff that they did. So their main purpose while I was there with them was to do medical stuff in the clinics, and then to do general service. They're building a school, and they are building infrastructure for water in the villages, and yeah, so there's a bunch of cool stuff that they're doing. I put together a little video slideshow highlighting a bunch of the cool things I experienced. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. All the animals, except for the very end, from the giraffe on, all the animals, and the lion. The lion should have been here. He's not good at the beginning. But like all the baboons and all that, those were in the village with us. So like, they were like feeding from us at all times. We had to get used to that. Yeah, they're a little scary. Their teeth are like this long. So, yeah, it was different going as a photographer and not a volunteer, because I got to step back and like see the big picture, but not be part of everything. So I got to see like everybody's experiences and then see how it impacted the African people also. So that was really cool for me. So yeah, my favorite part of it was just like being around the people. And so when we didn't live in hotels or anything. Like we lived in the village with the people. Like we lived in a Maasai village with like the Maasai people, and so like the sun would rise at 6 a.m. and set at 6 p.m. And when the sun would set, like we would go to our tent that was set up near their huts, and like they would do big celebrations and stuff, and like we got invited to a couple of their celebrations, and one of them was like a huge celebration to where like surrounding villages came to it, and it was like a huge celebration of like hundreds and hundreds of people, and that's like when they were jumping, that was part of that celebration, and people walked for like probably days to get to that celebration, and it was really cool to be a part of that. So how I found out about the internship was one of my photography instructors here on campus. He knew people who ran Marafiki Africa, and he put me in contact with them because he knows that they go every summer, and so he mentioned that to them that I could be like a contact for them, and then they saw some of my work, and then they picked me to go with them. But like it was all self-funded, so I've got my own business, and I did a lot of specials, and I got some donations from my friends, so I had to pay for everything out of pocket for it. Yeah, and you guys know how expensive it's flying though, so yeah. But yeah, I'm working on going back. So I'm gonna be filming a documentary back over there. So yeah, I just want to go back. It had a big impact on me, and it changed me by realizing that like we're so material, and the only thing that really matters is like your family and your friends. Like all the material stuff doesn't matter because over there they've got nothing. But I never once saw, other than in the clinics, I never saw a sad person. Everybody's happy. One of the things I wish that I knew before going over there was I wish I knew more about the people and the culture, and I wish I knew the language. Because when I was there, I had to learn 2 languages. I had to learn Swahili, which is like what people in Tanzania spoke, and then I had to learn Maasai, which was what like the villagers spoke. Like some of them spoke Swahili, but they mainly spoke Maasai. So like the little kids, that's all they spoke was Maasai. So I had to learn like Maasai and Swahili to be able to communicate. Another thing I wish I knew, or wish I was prepared for, was because when you're doing an internship through the school, you have like assignments and stuff you got to turn in. But living in an African village off in the bush, you don't have internet. So I wish I would have looked at my assignments before I left. So I could have been like writing down my experiences. Some pros, everything about it was awesome. People were awesome. Gives you a different perspective on life. The cons about it was too short. I wish I could have stayed. Like everybody smiles at everybody. Everybody welcomes you in your home. Everybody treats everybody like family. And here, no matter where you go in America, it's like total opposite. So we could learn something from those people.
Yeah, good job, you guys.
All of them very interesting.
Yeah, any questions? Anybody? Anyone? Yeah, go ahead.
Michael, so you said you wrote your 30-page business proposal. Did you do that in Spanish?
Yeah.
And so while you were there, did you have someone else like helping you with like grammar, things like that, or was this all on you?
Nope.
Let's see.
No, I was by myself. One thing I did forget to say that reminded me of it, it's like when you go on an internship, like it made me realize how many like wonderful people I've met through college to help me, because like I emailed like 4 or 5 previous professors that I had, some that I hadn't had for 2 or 3 semesters, including my Spanish professor, and she knew I was out there, but a lot of them didn't, and I was like, oh, like my marketing professor, like he would know the answer to this question, or like I remember that he said in class that he had a connection to that company in Utah, like I'm going to email him, and they would all email me back and give me feedback, give me information, give me contact information, and like Mari helped me out with different things I needed with Spanish. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I was just by myself. And somebody, I don't remember which one of you said it was like probably helpful to know Spanish, but then there's like knowing Spanish that I like learned on my mission and in classes here, and then there's like engineering in Spanish, which is nothing like that. And so there was a lot of like having to learn new vocabulary and a new way of speaking, and then you're in a different country where they speak differently in Spanish in Spain compared to like Argentina where I've been. So it was like I knew Spanish, but I still had to like learn how the Spanish worked there.
This might be a question for all of you, but in preparation before going over there, what would you guys, because you know it may take some time to get some paperwork and processing done, what would you recommend to all the students here in regards to that?
Yeah, all of us doing all of us stand.
You know, if it's just a couple of you, whoever just wants to chime in is fine.
I would say start looking 6 months to a year in advance. Because you have to narrow down what you're looking for and then
There's so much. Like,
so much to go.
planning.
Yeah.
That like, yeah.
So if you're thinking of next
yourself
summer, start right now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it does take like to be able to do all the paperwork with Natalie. If you're doing it like if you're taking the internship class with like your department, you have to like talk to that coordinator, get that all set up. And so there's a lot of things, like a lot of steps. There is a lot of paperwork you have to do, and like with the scholarship, you have to like check the dates on like when to get all that turned in, and like you have to like be registered for the class before you can turn it in. So it's like you have to like see like when can I register for that? Is that going to work? You have to really just pay attention, I'd say, to like all the dates and all the deadlines, and on the assignments too, because if you're doing an internship class, just so you can like make sure you're meeting up with all the deadlines that are there with everything. So.
Check visa requirements too. It's a big thing because you can't buy your ticket until you know if your visa's been accepted.
Specific to government internships, you should probably pick where you want to work by your sophomore year if you want to go your senior year, because you still have to apply to get in, and that will take a year, and it will take you probably a year to decide where you want to go.
I want to know, Savannah, why did it solidify that you want to work for the State Department? Like, if you could give just a quick answer.
Yeah, it was just, I got to work on all the issues I'm interested in, and the culture's amazing. It's really hard to explain, but just getting to work with people that are so like-minded, that just want to make the world a better place in a way that we're good at. So, like, I'm good with politics and government and talking to people, but I'm not so good at, like, healthcare or taking pictures. So, it was just an awesome experience.
You were good at it and you liked it.
Mm-hmm.